Would you like to see your life and business move to a higher level of success? What if you could live as if someone left the gate wide open? David Norris, a transformational leader for transformational leaders, says, life has no remote, so get up and change it yourself. And today he joins me from Amarillo, Texas to explain why your leadership matters. David Norris has served leadership consulting clients in banking, oil and gas, renewable energy, recruiting, industrial electrical contracting, mechanical engineering, accounting, heavy duty truck parts, retail, center pivot irrigation systems and parts, coaching, insurance, attorneys, real estate, law enforcement, and electric utilities, just to name a few. He also coaches founders of several nonprofits. David's clients all seek to improve their leadership ability first so that their lives and businesses move to a higher level of success and significance. David sells results, and I am so honored and excited to have him as today's guest on Awaken and Ascend. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, and David is my guest today. Welcome, David. It is so wonderful having you here.
Oh, and thank you, Jennifer, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hope I can bring something to the table today for your audience, for your listeners. But no, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. Very honored.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. So I'm excited to hear, David, what actually lit your path. I mean, you served a lot of different industries. I know from personal conversations we've had, there's a lot of life experiences you also had. But what set you on the path to become a transformational leader? And what is it about transformation that is so important for leaders of today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jennifer, because we see this so much in all the different media that come at us through social media, news media, business journals, politics. It doesn't really matter. We see a lot of words thrown around like core values and integrity and leadership and culture and things like that. And what I have come to discover in my years in the military and in the business world is that so very, very few people actually know what any of these words really mean.
Right.
And I can go all the way back to my Marine Corps days when there was a higher ranking officer in my battalion who, quite honestly, I avoided him like the plague, but I was studying for my MBA while on active duty, and courses were in management. And we would have an issue going on, like say in motor transport or supply or in one of the infantry companies or something like that. And what Major Barnes would always say is that it's not a management problem, there's a leadership problem. And that used to burn me because how could he know that? I'm the one studying for the MBA. He doesn't know squat. But as time went on, and I came to realize that he was totally correct. And then in the late 90s, John Maxwell wrote his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Law number 2 is the law of influence, which is leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And everything rises and falls on leadership. And that I've been working through that. So you read a long list of different industries of business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs that are or have been my clients. And what I figured out in all of that is that there's nothing special about your business. I don't have to know the inner intricacies of windmill technician recruiting, wind energy technician recruiting, or the engineering part of oil and gas, or even in the accounting sector. The only thing that is unique about anyone's business is how they lead it. And that is the key point right there, is that you can have a grand vision, but without your ability to communicate or to treat people right or to lead them, you will continue to be met with frustration after frustration after frustration. The one thing that I tell my clients a lot is to, your people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care, and to bring that in and that to align bring people alongside you with the same shared values. And that's a tough one to do, because so many business owners, they have values, but they've never really sat down and shall we say, codified it, put it in writing. Mm. Okay. And then actually, and there's a process for that, Jennifer, to do that. Most people, what you do is that you see them do that. They'll go through, we value this, we value this, we value this, we value this, and it goes in a file drawer somewhere or stuck on a server, and it's never brought again. And then people wonder why people leave. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The intentional creation of a leadership culture where people are allowed to thrive, grow, prosper is nothing. This thing we call culture of leadership. People really don't even know what culture means. Mm-hmm. Culture was something they grew bacteria in microbiology class, something like that. But no, culture is nothing more than the sum of what you consistently do. And to really break that down into smaller segments and become totally grounded, have the leader totally grounded in what they value most, and state it in a way that other people will be attracted to it or adhere to it, it is nothing more than a leadership matter. And that's why I say your leadership matters. And it doesn't really matter. I've been hired before to help people with their cash flow. Well, they didn't really have a cash flow problem. They had a leadership problem. They had a leadership problem as to their perception of what cash flow is supposed to look like. And the biggest leadership mistake they make regarding their cash flow is they don't even know their own numbers. That is the single largest failing of entrepreneurial leadership, is they don't know their numbers. So to either create or cause to create something that tells them where they are financially is it's very simply a leadership issue. That's why your leadership matters. The way you communicate matters. Your authenticity matters. Authenticity. Now, there's another word that a lot of people really don't understand. They think I'm just being authentic. No, you're not. Authenticity is what remains after I stop managing your perception of me, and become transparent and truthful, speaking the truth with love, with everyone. So, I have yet to run across a client or a single issue that I cannot trace back to poor leadership and the decisions that come out of that.
Yeah, and it feels like a big source of that poor leadership is the disconnect from your values, the disconnect from really knowing what's happening in your business, like knowing your numbers, for example, knowing your people,
knowing
and
your numbers,
what
yes,
strengths they're carrying, and being disconnected from that. And where if you really embody your values, if you're living your values and you embody leadership and really own that, then it really has a more positive effect on anyone that you come into contact with, whether it's in your life, in your business, the whole culture that surrounds it, as you say, the sum of your parts, right? But if your parts are all over the place and you're disconnected and you're just throwing the words out there, there's no harmony. There's no cohesion. There's no structure and support in that. And then you have managers that like the fire under you, and there's leaders who light the fire within you that really inspire.
Yeah, it's you just reminded me of a great quote by the great football coach Vince Lombardi. It says, "If you are not fired with enthusiasm, you will be fired with enthusiasm."
Yes.
But that's, Jennifer, you just really actually hit on a point. We hear this. There's this phrase called quiet quitting.
Yes,
it's like something new. Well, it's not new. It's actually been going on for decades. We just talk about it now as a result, I guess, of the pandemic and the changes that we all made and the adjustments that we all made then. And people as individuals become more ingrained in their own core values and what matters most to them. Mm-hmm. And the value that they can bring to the company and the power that wields for them. That is, in my old bank, we always knew that we had bank CEOs in the company somewhere. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's not until they leave. But it wouldn't be for that bank. It would be for other banks. that we would really want to grow them and let them prosper and move on. You see what happens in this when leaders in the business world, not-for-profit world, the same way, when they're not grounded in those core values and create a culture to where people want to be there, what happens is that people, let me back up. Nothing ever really improves, Jennifer, until the leader improves, period. Okay. So
right.
when the leader is not improving, their cash flow is not going to improve until their leadership improves. Their profitability is not going to improve until their leadership improves. Their employee retention is not going to improve until they improve. They set the example. They're the picture. They're the ones that people look to. No matter how big the company is, nothing improves until the leader improves. Now then, that doesn't mean that you wait for the leader to improve. What people actually do, this is where you see the quiet quitting going on in many cases, is that they're not improving, so I'm going to improve. And when I improve, now I'm in touch with my core values, I'm going someplace else. And then they're over there going, what's going on? Well, you have a misalignment of values. It's that simple. And there's only really one way to do that, and that is for everyone to be grounded in it. It's not going to be perfect, but everybody grounded in those shared values, you can build a phenomenal team. And financially, and I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but the cost of turnover in a company is anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 times annual pay and benefits. So if there's a churn going on in the company, it's costing you more than you really think it is. And the cure for that is becoming grounded in core values and what you're meant, and then being able to communicate. Yeah, you can have the vision statement and the mission and all of these other big things out there, but until people really people will buy into the leader first, then the vision. They could really care less about the vision. They're following the leader. They'll buy into the leader. Now they'll buy into the vision. If you look at successful companies, and you can read, although he uses different languages, Jim Collins, Good to Great, and then his latest one, I forget the name of it already. I'm reading it and I don't even know the title.
Yeah.
But they're pointing out why companies fail. And a lot of it is because of the internal culture and bad decisions where their people are concerned. And it's sadly, it's unnecessary. However, ego and arrogance of leadership gets in the way, and integrity starts to erode. And when integrity erodes, then you start getting mistrust, avoidance of accountability, low standards. Any number of things can start happening in any business, profit or not for profit. It happens the same way. It's just that when you can get most people aligned, it really works. And that's why I say that your leadership matters. And that's what I really want people to do, is to understand that they have a duty, a responsibility, and an accountability for creating an environment to where people want to come and be part of something that can be greater than themselves. To do that, leaders have to be authentic. They have to be transparent. They have to have integrity. They have to have a lot of character traits. And I can tell you, I actually had somebody say this to me the other day when I was talking about integrity, is that I've got all the integrity I need. I went, oh, golly. Whoa, well, congratulations. Good job, but that's the thing, because that passes on. That passes down to the other leaders and to the people there. It's and I've lived it that way as well. I've been in a company in banking right out of the Marine Corps to where there was a veneer of integrity. Okay. There's just a veneer. But when things got financially tough and started falling apart, then you start seeing all these things. And I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to lead employees and help customers, help keep confidence in customers on the bank. It never failed, but the owners got rushed away thrown away by the FDIC and the Texas Department of Banking, and the bank's still there to this day. But the thing about it is that you can only cover it up for a while. You're finally going to be exposed.
Yes.
And it's usually not very pretty at all. But that's what I seek to in my in this realm that I'm where I want people to understand that your leadership matters, is that it really does. And the first place is to look internally,
Yes.
And set that ego aside, set that arrogance aside, and understand that you have blind spots. And those blind spots will flat kill you. But that turning loose of that ego, taking on that person, that man, that woman that you see in the mirror, that's probably the hardest challenge of leadership there really is to set the ego aside and understand that you don't know every damn thing that comes along about leadership. Just because, and we've known this for years, just because you have a title, that doesn't make you a real leader.
Exactly. And you talk about alignment and integrity and authenticity as well, and how that can harmonize and tighten things up. Whereas if you don't have that, it'll all unravel. It'll all be exposed, and it's going to show up. Your blind spot's going to kick you in the butt, And then you start to fall apart. What's important to understand too, I think, is that authenticity is also about congruency, being who you are, no matter what environment you're in or who you're surrounding yourself with, the people that you're with. So not just at business or in the company or working for an employer, but also in your life with your family, your friends, not being one person with your family and another person in the business, that you're living your values no matter what. You are who you are congruently in all of those situations, right? Otherwise, you're living double lives, you're becoming fragmented. Yes.
Yeah, you very well defined integrity right there by using the word congruent.
Exactly.
So your actions and your words are congruent. That's the very definition of integrity, which comes from the Greek word integer, which we remember from algebra class, whole. Whole number. Yeah, you become whole. So that's the biggest challenge, I see. And so in every case, in the people that I've worked with, they sought me out. They heard me say something. I don't know exactly a lot of what they said, but they largely already have a level of success. They're doing well. Okay, it's not like they're failing or arguing in, but they want more success, or they even want to move on to significance. And to get to that next level of more success, what was working before isn't working now. And guess what?
Yeah.
You have a leadership issue. You can't, if you really want to grow your company, and you got to be careful with this word called growth, because it can get out of control too. If you just grow for growth's sake, you're going to go down, not without core values. But if you want to grow your company, you want to expand your market, you want to expand your product influence, whatever that is. There's only one way to do that, and that's for the leader. If you want to grow your company, you got to grow your people. Okay. But if you want to grow your people, guess what? You got to grow yourself first. And so when I run into these small, mid-sized corporations, and even some of the big ones, I've had some interesting conversation with some Fortune 100 CEOs before. They think that that's for somebody else. I don't need that. Now, they certainly is a place for leadership development and growth and coaching and things like that to come into companies. A lot of companies do it, and they do it very, very well. But more often than not, these companies are going to remain stuck because the CEO is stuck and doesn't even know it. He's in Lone Ranger mode. Okay. I also want to go back to something you said just a second ago, because it's extremely important. And that is the people around you, the people closest to you.
Yes.
In the three things that I think affect a leader's decision-making ability more than anything is and therefore their success is the people closest to them, the quality of the questions they ask, and their what I call their daily agenda, which is going to be how well they control their calendar, their schedule, and their to-do list, which, by the way, those are three different things. I wrap them up. I call it your daily agenda. And most of them, so many of them, because they haven't grown, they don't necessarily know how to take control of that daily agenda, because that's what they've been doing all the time. You know, they teaching them to turn their agenda, in particular the calendar, into their defensive perimeter and primary offensive weapon.
Yes,
is not that hard. But they there's a tacit refusal to do that, but it's simply teaching them how that they can do that. And there's some very simple tricks to do it. It does take some time. Some grasp it. My one client I had, and I showed him one trick, and he no longer it changed his whole life, is what he said. And that was simply saying, always carry two books, one to write in and one to read.
Oh.
And then showed him how to do that. He took it to a whole new level and does very well with it. But prior to that, he and so many others, they're like a pinball inside a pinball machine, and the whole world has their own flipper.
Yes.
Just bouncing around.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's not tenable over time, because what will happen with that is sooner or later there will be a DEFCON 1 event, either with their health, with their relationships, with their employees. Any number of other things can happen. So taking control of your daily agenda to move yourself forward, to move your company forward, to move your people forward in whatever sector that you're working in is extremely important. We're not taught to ask questions properly. We ask, more often than not, we ask why questions, which is almost, and I'm not talking about, the Simon Sinek start with why. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, people saying, why is this happening?
Right. And as soon as you start saying that why, it engages a power struggle.
You have a power struggle, and you are now in scarcity and lack, and you've really cut off your thinking process when you do this. How questions can have a better place, but the more powerful questions are what questions? What can we do to improve this? What can we do? And that way you just stay open to more things, and your brain subconsciously opens back up, and you can do that. But the power, so many of our successes are determined by the quality of questions we ask. I joke about some of the questions that my old boss used to bank, and I had people trained in the bank to watch out for 6-word questions. Not the least of which was, how the hell did that happen? But working, but to learn and to really think down the power of the questions, but more importantly, Jennifer, the people closest to you. And what I have found 100% of the times with my clients, and I knew this from my banking days, is that I had, as do my clients, they have really, really good people around them. Okay. I'm going to give them that. Okay. They have good people around them. But there is a big however in this. More often than not, those people are not skilled in the art, and it is an art form, of providing feedback. There's always a hesitation inside the company. They don't necessarily know how to tell the boss or their own team leader or something like that what they need to hear. They finding the right mix of care and candor is a leadership holy grail. If a person can do that, regardless whether you're the top leader or mid-level or even down at the bottom, to being able to do that, to speak the truth with love.
Yeah.
is an art form that can be developed. But more often than not, there is a subconscious or unconscious tendency for leaders to have to be the smartest man, the smartest woman in the room. And so they won't quite do what's called overhiring. They won't bring in the people that can do that. Now, that's where I get to come in on so many of these things, because they know that up front. I'm not going to be mean unless, I'm going to be their cheerleader, but I'm going to put my boot in their butt if I have to. But I'm going to give them the feedback and create and encourage them to create also inside the company, but to create an environment of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm not going to hold you accountable. I'm just going to bring you into an environment to where you are accountable to yourself for what it is you say you want. And I'm going to keep you between the lines on that. We're going to push the lines out if we need to, change directions. That's okay. Let's be grounded in why you want to change that direction. But let's get a course charted for what it is you want. And then we can translate that to the rest of the company as we go on. So taking control of your daily agenda, asking the right questions, and the people closest to you are the large determinants of people's success. And embedded in that, Jennifer, is becoming extremely grounded in what you value.
Yes.
What is non-negotiable?
What is non-negotiable?
What is non-negotiable?
And what if people need help figuring that out, David? What if they realize the issues, they become more aware of what needs to change, but just they don't know the how and where to go from here? How do they connect with you to be able to get some of that kind of support and guidance and create those structures, create the conditions for success and significance?
Yeah, thank you. Well, honestly, one-on-one coaching is to me the primary way. Of course, that's my business, so naturally I'm going to say that. But that's the thing about it. But there is a process in this. And if you look at modern day strategic planning, okay, in companies, strategic plans that are created without assessing, creating, or revisiting core values typically fail. So there's a little nuance that I do. Is if I'm asked to come facilitate a strategic planning session, I only do it if we can spend at least one day in core values creation type of thing. Because then now the strategic plan is really going to align and work and come in better. But back to your original question, my website probably the best way to find me, which is www.davidnorrisleadership.com. And in there's an email that it's interesting. I love the way my business has developed over the years, because I've really become really grounded in what I love most. When we get through here in about an hour and a half, I go pick up my youngest granddaughter from school, and that is the best job I ever had. Okay. So my calendar is my defensive perimeter, my primary offensive weapon.
That's right.
And that's just every afternoon. But I no longer send out massive emails. I don't maintain an email list anymore. I do have a LinkedIn presence. That's another way. David Norris, Amarillo, Texas. You can find me right there. I put a lot of content over there, but that's for my benefit more than it is anything else, as I try to churn and get all this stuff out of my head onto paper. And, might as well share it over there too. But yeah, email address, I'll go ahead. That's David@davidnorrisleadership.com. That's the fastest way to do it right there. But I'd really encourage people, Jennifer, your listeners, and anybody with a longing and discontent around their business, and that is, how do they get their business going better? How they make a transition from working from an employment standpoint, or running their own business and shifting that over to a calling, like you said. The process is still the same. It is becoming very grounded in core values, and then having a coach, people around you that will evoke out of you what it is you say you want, and then be in that environment of accountability. Very briefly, let me define two things for you. There's a vast difference between responsibility and accountability. They're second cousins, okay? They're close, but responsibility, we're responsible for things, but we are accountable to people. And that's the primary difference. And when you look at it from accountability as to what you're being accountable to yourself for what it is you say you want. That's what I mean by that. You're a people too, okay? And then when you become very grounded in that, and then start to speak it into existence, people will find you. I can make it sound easy. It is not. I'm constantly reminding my clients that their job is to climb the mountain, not carry it.
And good one.
Climbing the mountain, peaks and valleys, and every now and then a plateau, catch your breath, but we're moving on. You get to keep going in this. It's a challenge with people around you, your inner circle, if you will. It's not always pleasant. There's care and care. We're human beings. We have feelings. Sometimes we say the wrong things. So it's not. I don't want it to sound like it's all puppy dogs and butterflies in this. It's the leadership of anything takes guts, takes intestinal fortitude, it takes courage, because it's the hardest work you'll ever do, and especially when you're working with the 6 inches between your own ears.
Yes. And for those that are feeling lost or stuck, you get to keep going. I like that you said that. You get to keep going. And sometimes you need a little help along the way. So all of David's links is going to be in the show notes for you to check into, whether it's on LinkedIn or on the website, or to email him so that he can connect you with those values, with the strategies that you need to get your life on track, to set your course in the way that's truly aligned with who you are and what you're here to be doing. So. And
I do encourage people to look at the website. You'll see that I approach all of this from a very unique standpoint. I only coach one-on-one. I only coach the boss, the leader, or people that want to be. Type of thing, but the way I do it is just like you and I are doing this right now. It's very conversational. There's no content to study. There's no there's no VIP, no group calls to get on. There's no VIP retreats or anything like that. No, we get down to business. We get down to figuring out what it is you want, and we work on that one-on-one. So, and that's where the rubber meets the road, in my opinion, right there. I've had that. I've experienced that, and I just like to bring my experience, and maybe I can share my failures, and they are many. In my experience, be careful on that one out there. But anyway, Jennifer, thank you very much.
Thank you. There's been so much to learn from you. Yes, and being able to hear you speak and share your experiences, your joy, your passion for this kind of work, and to really tap into true leadership and helping people to recognize why your leadership matters. I really thank you, David, for being here and sharing all this with us. It's so much appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank each and every one of you that have been listening and watching on Awaken and Ascend today. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.